What's up, everybody? My name is Jimmy Luis Gomez, aka Taboo founding member of the Black Eyed Peas, proud advocate and voice for Indigenous communities.
How is the term Indigenous and Native defined in cultural or historical contexts?
Yeah, so Indigenous basically means the first people of the land. It doesn't have to be Native American per se. It could be anybody. It could be Aboriginals from Australia. They're Indigenous relatives. It could be Mayan or Azteca Mexicas from Mexico. They're Indigenous. The reason why I think Indigenous Peoples Day here in the U.S. is so prominent is because we abolished Christopher Columbus Day here in Los Angeles, and we were the first ones to do that. So the word Indigenous has many layers because it talks about the idea of identifying as an Indigenous man or woman or child. And that's something that, for me as an Angelino, a kid that was born in LA, but had connection to my native roots with my grandmother and my Mexican roots as well, the reality is I identify as an Indigenous man because I embody all of it. You know, I'm not just one thing. And I actually wrote a kid's book about identity. And that's something that's very personal to me because we all go through like not feeling like we're not enough. Well, you don't speak Spanish right. You're not from the res. You know, you have a Spanish last name, colonialism, all these different things that make up our identity. So I felt like being part of ushering the idea of being proud to be Native on my grandmother's side, but also embodying what it is to have Indigenous excellence. And so those two words go hand in hand because Natives represent tribal communities from the US and Canada, right? But the word Indigenous could be Brazil, Australia, Mexico, South America, Central America, Africa. So these are the things that I feel like distinguish the word Native and Indigenous because we all embody it on a global scale.
The Met Gala is such an iconic event. How did it inspire or shape your approach to your fashion work?
Yeah, so, you know, you hear about the Met Gala in overseas and you see all the celebrities and who's who of fashion. And so we thought to ourselves, why not bring that Indigenous excellence to Los Angeles and do it our way, where we highlight high-end couture and high-end fashion designers, but also bring in Native designers to implement traditional styles with the modern twist. So along with Twyla True and Sarah Eaglehart and Lillian, we were able to build this beautiful component called Indigenous Fashion. It was called the IFS, Indigenous Fashion Show Collective. And it was the first time we did it. It was at the Autry Museum. And they asked me to be co-chair, myself and Quana Chasing Horse, who's an amazing, beautiful spirit. She embodies the essence of beauty, not just outer beauty, but also like strength as being a proud Native woman. And she's at the Met Gala. That's where I first saw her, rocking the runway and rocking the actual, the red carpet. And I was like, yo, one day we're going to do something together that deals with fashion and celebrating Indigenous excellence. So we did it here in LA not too long ago at the Autry Museum. Then we had a block party workshop of, you know, designing jewelry, clothing designing, sneaker apparel, you know, couture type wardrobe. And also, we also talked about hats because there's a lot of hats that are made by Native people, have beadwork. Like these beadwork right here, made by Michaela, designed by Michaela, that's her name. And she made all this for me. And, you know, it's highlighting fashion. Like what I'm wearing right now, like this is made by Naomi Glasses, who's part of Ralph Lauren. She's an Indigenous designer, Navajo girl from Arizona. She had her own line that came out this year. And then this is Jinu, first Indigenous brand here in Long Beach. So I feel like I like to represent the designers that are from Indian country as well, those Native designers that are up and coming, that actually collaborate with people like Ralph Lauren, people like N7, Nike N7. These are the turning points of how being Indigenous and having the pop culture intersect.
Can you share how you first got involved with Marvel and what inspired you to collaborate with them?
So, man, I'm a nerd. I'm going to keep it a buck, 100. I am a nerd. I love toys, action figures from the 70s, 80s, and 90s. I'm a toy collector, an avid toy collector. And I'm proud because it's kind of like my art, because I'm a student of collecting. And it just appreciates in time because they're OGs, whether we're talking about G.I. Joes or Transformers, He-Man, Ninja Turtles, LJN wrestlers from the 80s. These things remind me of my childhood. It's nostalgia. So the reason why I'm telling you this is because it started with me as a toy collector. So I started going to Comic-Con. Comic-Con led me to meet all the different vendors, eventually meeting someone from Marvel. I met this guy named Daniel Fink and this other guy named Jay De La Torre. Those dudes were kind of like my A&Rs of Marvel. They were like, yo, if you got something, if you got a demo, metaphorically, yo, why don't you pitch it to us? I was like, I really don't have anything right now. This is in 2015, 2014, something like that, right? Right after I battled cancer. And so, Will.i.am came to me and he's like, yo, I got this idea for a comic book, Masters of the Sun. So I was like, I thought in my head, like, whoa, a comic book, Black Eyed Peas comic book about hip hop and about like crazy storytelling that deals with, hip hop and metaphorically like crack in the 80s. Why don't we take this to Marvel? Will says, Marvel? Marvel's not going to rock with us, Tab. I said, Will, I just beat cancer, bro. Anything is possible. And he looked at me and he looked at the book and he's like, yeah, you're right. So I lined up the meeting with Marvel Comics. Him and another person went to meet with them. I think it was Sarah. Yeah, Sarah went to meet with Marvel. They came in and distributed and put the Marvel logo on it and were part of the journey. Fast forward, I said, Daniel, I brought Black Eyed Peas to you. I got an idea. I want to do Red Wolf. I want to do something with Red Wolf, the first native superhero from the Marvel Universe. So that took me to the showroom in New York, thanks to Joey Q, Joe Quesada, who I did an amazing interview with about heritage and about storytelling. I told Joey I want to do something with Red Wolf. He said, when the moment presents itself, you're definitely going to do something. So I went to the showroom. I met Tom Brever, and I also met my good friend CB Cebulski, who's the editor-in-chief or chief editor of Marvel. And I told him my idea. I was adamant about it. I was passionate. And he said, okay, we'll try something. We'll have this thing called Marvel 1000. And why don't you just come up with something? So at the time I was collaborating with B. Earl, who actually wrote Masters of the Sun. And from Red Wolf, the next thing was Werewolf by Night. Then after that, we did Kushala. Then after Kushala was Spider-Man. And then Daredevil and Echo. So these moments, that moment that turned into momentum, allowed me to dream big and go after my dreams as a Marvel kid, as just a lover of storytelling and wanting to bring an indigenous twist to Marvel in an authentic, genuine way. What I told Marvel is I don't want to do Red Wolf with war paint and feathers. I need him to be like Billy from Predator. Remember Billy? When he sliced himself, he was native, but he wasn't like stereotypical. He was a badass, right? So I was like, yeah, that's how I want Red Wolf. And then we did Jay Gomez as a modern kid too. And then we did Kushala modern as well. And then Spider-Man, we added Crystal Katani, who was part of the journey with him, who happened to be native, but wasn't stereotyped. So all these different components of making it authentic and genuine to a modern conversation. No monolith, no stereotype. Bring Marvel to the journey and let them know that there's storytellers that want to modernize the idea and the storytelling of what it is to be indigenous.
Could you tell us about your involvement in negotiating or leading business deals and partnerships through your work with the Black Eyed Peas?
Not taking a lot of credit, but I've been very blessed to be integral in certain snapshots of Black Eyed Peas' career, whether it was like bringing Justin Timberlake to do Where's the Love.
Can you tell us the story behind Justin Timberlake's involvement with Where Is the Love?
So I built a friendship with Justin when he was in NSYNC. We would go to this club called Joseph's and AD. Those are Hollywood clubs. And we built a friendship just through the circles, dancing, battling, and just, vibing out as dancers do. And I just respected him as like, yo, that's JT. And he liked the Peas. He liked, our earlier stuff, Joints and Jams and all that stuff. So he was a fan of that era. And when we went into our third album, Ella Funk, I reached out to him and I said, because we had written Where's the Love, but we didn't have a hook. We just have Where's the love, the love, the love. We just had that. We didn't have people killing, people dying. I hit him up. I said, JT, I need something like Marvin Gaye. What's going on? Mercy, Mercy Me. So, this is 2001, 2000, something like that, 2001 or 2002. He hits me back and he's like, Tab, I got it. So I was like, okay, cool. So I think he sang it to me over the phone. And I was like, yo, that's it. I call Will. I'm like, Will, I think I know who could sing the hook. For what? For Where's the Love, bro? Who? Justin Timberlake. Justin Timberlake from the Backstreet Boys? No, Will. He's not from the Backstreet Boys. He's from NSYNC. Trust me, Will. It's going to be dope, dude. He's killing it. And he's doing a solo thing too. Will's like, Tab, if it's whack, it's on you, basically. So I was like, okay, cool. We brought him into the studio, we recorded it, and the rest is history. Where's the Love is my favorite song that we've ever written. To this day, we still need love because the question's always asked, where's the love within humanity?
Given your work uplifting Indigenous communities, are there any projects or initiatives you're currently involved in?
I'm doing a Native American heritage powwow at Disney in Burbank, and I'm doing a moderated keynote. So I'm going to speak for maybe 15 minutes to the staff and people that are there to celebrate and highlight Native American Heritage Month. And then I'm going to do a little side chat with the moderator. But we're going to bring awareness and bring Disney to the party in an authentic, genuine way. And let them know that, we are storytellers first and foremost. We are dancers. We're performers. But at the end of the day, we are representing Indigenous excellence.
How does it feel to be the one bridging the gap, bringing big companies to the table and helping make sure these projects are done right?
It makes me feel proud. And I know my grandmother is looking down on me and saying, great job, Jimmy, because she was the matriarch. She was proud of her Indigenous ancestry. Being from Jerome, Arizona, being a Native woman that came to LA, never claimed LA. She hated LA. She was all about her territory, which was Jerome, Arizona. And her pride in our culture and her pride in her ancestry allowed me to really tap into my ancestry and be proud. And she wasn't able to be an advocate or a voice for Indigenous people. So I said, I'm going to take that energy my grandmother gave me at a young age and instilled in me as a matriarch of my tribe, metaphorically and literally, and I'm going to apply that as a beacon of hope and inspiration to tribal communities. And if I can be the bridge between tribal communities and Native people, and be a bridge to pop culture, and deal with companies like Marvel and Disney and Amazon and all these different partners that I've had throughout this journey, Nike, Jordan, it's a blessing because I'm doing it in a very authentic, genuine way and bringing empathy, respect, and following protocol. Because sometimes these tribal communities are suffering from years and years of intergenerational trauma. So the trust issues are hard. So I have to do my due diligence. I have to be mindful to follow protocol and get the blessing from the elders before I move. I can't go to X, Y, and Z, big corporations that don't know about Indigenous representation, before I get the blessing. I did that with Marvel. Every book that we wrote or collaborated on, if there was a Indigenous character and there was implements of storytelling that have to do with Native storytelling, I made sure to bring a member from those tribes, whether it was a Hopi relative for a werewolf by night, or an Apache for Kushala, or Crystal Katani was Pawnee. So these different, they're different tribes. Not all natives are the same. Not all tribes are the same. So you have to make sure to be mindful of those landmines and follow protocol and make sure you do it in a very authentic, genuine way.